Losing weight can be tough for anybody, but if you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, it can become even more of a challenge. And although most of us have a decent idea of what we should be eating, sometimes it can be hard to implement those choices on a regular basis. So to help you out with that, in today's video, we're gonna go over 7 healthy habits that work to help you feel your best and also lose weight more effectively. My name is Dr. Brad Bodel, and I specialize in helping women with Hashimoto's and low thyroid to lose weight and improve their energy naturally. And if you're interested in learning more about ways you can support your thyroid through diet, nutrition, and lifestyle, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also ring the bell. That way you'll be notified when I post a new video every single Thursday. It really does help the channel, you guys, and I think you'll get a lot of value out of it. So let's start off today with our first healthy habit, which is to start making healthy food swaps. Now, there's a little bit of controversy around this topic these days, as some people think it's a strategy that reinforces restrictiveness and can cause people to have anxiety around their food choices. However, I think that when done properly, it can be a great tool for us to use. People who are against food swaps think that we shouldn't deprive ourselves, and if there's some sort of food that we want to eat, then we should eat it. But my problem with this approach is that assumes that all food is created equal, and I think that it's pretty clear that that isn't the case. I think that we can all agree that broccoli is not the same thing as Oreos. And now that I say it, I might have picked on Oreos before. I don't have a personal vendetta against them, but I think they make a great example in this situation. Broccoli is a single ingredient whole food that's nutrient dense. Oreos, on the other hand, are designed to be shelf stable, highly addictive, and allow you to eat them in a way where you overconsume them. My point is that we have to be honest about the goals behind these different foods. I would argue that there is no hidden agenda behind broccoli. However, the makers of Oreos, while I'm not saying they're necessarily being nefarious, their goal is to sell product, and they're probably not taking your health into consideration when they're doing that. But because most of us come from a background where we're having more of these processed foods, and we tend to crave those Oreos rather than craving broccoli, this is where the healthy food swaps come into play. Eating is a powerful habit, and there's a lot of times in our day-to-day lives where we eat without thinking about it. And for some people, it can be too big of a leap to completely go cold turkey with this stuff, which is why we need to find suitable replacements. This is even more critical if we have Hashimoto's, because we know that the increased sensitivity of the immune system can lead to a huge flare-up of symptoms from the consumption of only a small amount of food. So instead of having a bowl of candy on your desk at work, maybe the first small step that you make is switching that candy to a more healthy dark chocolate option. And eventually, maybe you swap that dark chocolate for something like some nuts and seeds. Eventually, it may be better for you to remove that food temptation altogether. But in the short term, having those nuts and seeds can help you to scratch that itch, so to speak, so you don't get overly stressed out and really crave something that you shouldn't be having. And it can allow you to bridge that gap until you're ready to make some more changes. If you'd like to munch on something while you're winding down for the night or watching TV, instead of having chips and cookies, maybe you could replace it with air-fried vegetables, pork rinds that use healthy fats, or a beverage like a flavored seltzer or tea. Lastly, you can use healthy food swaps in your cooking to help recreate some of your favorite meals. You can use things like zucchini noodles instead of noodles, cauliflower rice instead of rice, and things like jicama wraps instead of traditional tortillas, all of which are great options and should help you to avoid some of these foods that can traditionally cause problems for people with Hashimoto's. Remember, it's not about the calories with these foods. It's about the hormonal and inflammatory response to them that can get people into trouble. Our second healthy habit is to completely avoid trigger foods. What is a trigger food? Well, for each person, it's going to be a little bit different, but a trigger food is any food that we can't just have a few bites of. Once we start eating that food, we can't stop. Whether it's a whole tray of cookies or a whole bag of chips. In either scenario, we eat the entire thing, and usually this spirals into other bad choices that we make later on in the day. But it doesn't always have to be totally processed foods. I've also seen this happen with things like nuts and nut butter, and also with fruits. Either way, Identify what the trigger foods are for you and completely remove them from your diet. Because if you leave just a small amount in, having it will create that whole cascade that will be very difficult for you to manage. Healthy habit number 3 is to avoid making overly complicated recipes. Oftentimes I'll hear people say, well, I'm gonna go gluten-free or I'm gonna go dairy-free, and I got this cookbook that tells me how to make all of these gluten-free recipes. And when we look inside the cookbook, it'll have a grocery list of things that you have to get, which is 50 items long. All these different kinds of flours and binders and gums. And really, if we try to make these foods on a regular basis, not only are they not healthy for us, but it will also take a huge amount of time and make it very difficult for you to be consistent. Now, using some of these recipes from time to time can be another great way that you do some healthy food swaps. If you know that you react to gluten, making a gluten-free cake for a special occasion may be a great thing to do. However, these things should be special occasions and not the mainstay of your diet. Instead of trying to recreate all the foods that you used to have, opt for delicious whole food meals that allow you to enjoy your food and also allow you to stay consistent. Speaking of delicious whole foods, healthy habit number 4 is to eat foods that are nutrient dense. Many times when people are trying to lose weight, they tend to cut calories, which can make them feel undernourished, hungry, and fatigued. But instead of eating all the junk food that you used to, just in smaller amounts, have food that nourishes you and allows you to naturally reduce calories without the negative side effects. The best way to do this is to consume plenty of animal-based products that are rich in protein and other nutrients. Things like fatty cuts of meats, poultry, seafood, eggs, organ meats, and also bone broth. If you're unsure about how much protein you should be getting, I'll link for you my video on the topic in the cards right up above, because my guess is that you're probably not getting enough. In addition to animal-based foods, the other way to pack in the nutrients without overeating is to choose low glycemic vegetables. Things like asparagus, artichoke, broccoli, cauliflower, and leafy greens are all great options, just to name a few. Healthy habit number 5 is to stay consistent. Too often, especially with things like weight loss, I see people trying to do things on a short-term basis. They want to lose weight for a birthday, a wedding, or maybe a vacation. But when it comes to chronic conditions like Hashimoto's, as many of you know, it's very difficult for us to flip a switch and turn these things off or on. Instead of looking at these things like a reset or something that you're only going to do for a few weeks, make a commitment to yourself and implement them long term. Not everything will be perfect in the beginning, but if you can commit to making these changes, then you can tweak and refine it as you progress forward, and it will continue to help you to improve your health and see the changes that you want to see. Healthy habit number 6 is to have support, and this is something that will also help you to stay more consistent. Sure, we can do things by ourselves, but it's a whole heck of a lot easier if our partner, our family, or our friends are also making changes along with us. Having a community around us is like having a gym buddy. There's going to be some days where you wake up and you don't feel like going and working out. And that's where your partner can come in, support you a little bit, and get you back on track. Not only are you committed to yourself, but you're committed to them as well, and not wanting to let them down will allow you to stay more consistent. Plus, establishing any new habit is hard, especially when it comes to changing what we're eating. And if the people around you are continuing to make the meals and foods that you're used to having, it can make it even more difficult for you to achieve your goals. And while not everyone has to eat exactly like you're eating, making some adjustments and changes to be more in line with your philosophy can be hugely beneficial. So whether it's in your household, with your friends, or online, find a community that supports you and allows you to share your wins, your failures, because there will be both, and understands that the journey you're on isn't always easy. Finally, healthy habit number 7 is to celebrate your successes, just not with food. A lot of us have been conditioned to see food as a reward, and it's something that we have to work for and earn. You hear people say it all the time, and you've probably said it yourself. Maybe you had a long day at work and you're winding down with a drink and you say, "I earned this." Or you put in a really hard exercise at the gym and therefore you know you can have that cake later on because you worked for it. And I get it, and I know how emotional and powerful food can be. But we have to stop seeing food as our reward and find other ways to celebrate our success. As you start to lose weight, celebrate your new energy and mobility with that activity that you might have not done before. That can be done in a way that's as simple as going on a hike to a beautiful viewpoint or doing something more extreme like skydiving. It just depends on how big of a goal you've achieved and how much you want to celebrate. You could also do things that are more relaxing, like booking a trip to a spa, getting a pedicure, or just winding down in your own home in a bubble bath with some nice incense and some music. Another thing you could do is do some shopping. Maybe there's a jacket that you've been eyeing and really wanted to get. Well, maybe now is the time. But there's a million different options out there to reward ourselves with things that are non-food related. And let me know in the comments what sort of things you like to do to celebrate your successes. I hope you liked all the healthy habits today and are planning on using some of them in your own life. But if you feel like you need some additional help, you can always contact me for a free consultation to see if we would be a good fit to work one-on-one together. You can do that by sending me an email at contact@seattlethyroidhelp.com. Also, don't forget to grab my free download at the link in the description box below. It's Electrolytes for Hashimoto's and Keto, and if you've been following a low carbohydrate way of eating, it could help you to improve your energy levels, reduce muscle cramps, and also help you sleep better. Thanks for following along with me today, you guys. If you liked the video, I always appreciate it if you can give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments box below or come say hi on social media. My name is Dr. Brad Bodel. I hope you guys are having an amazing week, and I'll see you next Thursday.